Hello and welcome to the Hygiene Hangout, the hashtag NoFilter Hygiene podcast. As you can see, our production and interior design team have been very busy giving our studio a makeover, and we hope you like the fresh new look. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing a topic which is at the forefront of our minds here at Chris Daines, as we've recently embarked on a series of leadership and management training programs across all sectors within the business. And we hope the progression and development of our current team will secure our future as a business. But from a wider dairy industry perspective, we'd like to discuss and understand today how we encourage the younger generation to join this fantastic and rewarding industry. So sit back, relax and enjoy episode 9, Dairy, the Way Forward. So guys, welcome to the Hygiene Hangout. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy days today. Both of you well known to us, Chris Daines being part of our valued customer base, but for those people who don't know you, can you just introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your day-to-day jobs and maybe any work that you do outside of the day-to-day job to support the dairy industry?
Yeah, so my name's Stefan Healy and I'm in charge of our deli packing, waxing, cold storage and health and safety at a dairy manufacturer. And outside of that, I'm also an event manager and health and safety officer as well within the dairy industry.
Brilliant.
So I'm Chloe, I'm dairy process specialist working in the quality function within a dairy manufacturer, really focused on optimisation and implementation of new factory equipment.
Brilliant. So obviously dairy is the main focus today. What actually first drew you to the dairy industry stuff?
So as a child, my very first job was working on a dairy farm. And on this farm, we'd be doing sort of maintenance and cleaning and looking after the livestock. And I worked there at a very young age, as you could back then. And then my family then moved to a dairy farm, albeit with no cattle, in a house they still live in today. So it was always on a dairy farm. It's always been dairy orientated throughout the majority of my life.
Brilliant. Chloe?
So I don't have a farming background. I grew up in Devon, so it is very much a lot of industry down there. I have friends who are farmers, so I got to see a bit there. But I kind of accidentally fell into the dairy industry. I got a degree in chemical engineering, and with that sort of knowledge in terms of processes, I did a year in industry within the company I work for now, but actually in packaging, and then it kind of opened up my eyes to the rest of it all, and I've been stuck ever since and just like absolutely fascinated by everything that goes on within the business.
Yeah, it's amazing how most of the people in the food industry have almost, like you say, fell into the industry. There wasn't really a plan or a career path to say I'm going to work in dairy, I'm going to work in food processing, I'm going to be a brewer, things like that. It's part of what we're sort of looking at now, this awareness of the industry and the jobs that are available within it, and to try and attract people to it as well. So from a generational point of view at the moment, Steph, how do you sort of see the dairy industry being?
So the dairy industry is in a pivotal point at the moment where, due to ethical and sustainability drives, there are key KPIs which are being benchmarked by all businesses now. So this is at a turning point where it's driving towards a more sustainable future. So it's a big focus for retailers and a big focus for the manufacturers as well as time moves on.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned 15 years in the industry. What have been the biggest changes in that 15 years that you've seen?
Biggest change in the industry, I would say, obviously the sustainability aspect, but also automation as well. Mm-hmm. So businesses nowadays, the rising labour costs are forcing a lot of businesses to automate. The smaller businesses that can't automate, you have to suck up and see it, but larger businesses are especially focused on automation, and that can lead to a lack of entry-level roles within the dairy industry. So it can leave less entry to break through into the dairy world, but it's a big focus at the moment for all businesses.
Brilliant. So from your point of view, Chloe, why do you think there's a few younger people getting into the industry at the moment?
I think it's because there's just less less knowledge of what goes on in the dairy industry, what sort of career paths you can go into, what is available. I think from my point of view, I just thought it was milking cows and that was it. But there's just the whole process behind taking the raw material and going to the finished product that you see on the shelves, your butter, your creams, your yogurts. It's all of those steps in between where anyone can get involved in that, and it's not shared so readily.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. It is all around us. I mean, I grew up in a relatively sort of urban environment. We did have a working farm behind us that had a herd of cattle. For about 4 miles from my house, there was a massive Cadbury's factory. I went to school about a mile away from that. Could smell the chocolate from school. It was great. But I suppose at that point, if you working in a factory or working in farming, it was farming or a factory work where you were sort of packing product into a box and that was it really. There was no real understanding about all the opportunities that are there in the industry, whether it be technical, production, operations, transport. There's so much you can actually do. Do you think there's any misconceptions about the industry at the moment, Chloe, that are maybe putting people off coming into it?
I think the big thing for a lot of the younger generation as well is the whole work-life balance. It's understanding, well, for them it's like I want to have a life beyond work. And I think the misconception of the dairy industry is that it's quite traditional. You've got probably quite long hours, unsociable hours, and I think that could be something that could put them off. I mean, there's the whole sustainability factor as well, and the whole ethical concerns around farming. I mean, the other side for me, I remember at school, I remember being taught about the methane emission from cows. That was something that was actually told to us. So I think there is quite a lot of work that can be done in terms of schools and making sure like information is shared to balance it out, and it's not just emissions, but it's also how you can make the change and how you can improve things as well.
Yeah, I think the animal welfare thing is a big thing. Obviously, it's all around us from an environmental point of view, but also from the welfare of the animals as well. I think if people feel that the food industry in a way sort of mistreats animals to try and generate the product, but I think it's a case that we need the stuff. We want to try and be as self-sufficient as we can when it comes to food supply and things like that. So it's a case of we know we have to do this. It's doing it in the right way. So, a question for both of you, really, the younger generation. What do you think they want in a career, and how does the dairy industry align with that?
So I think what the younger generation want, they're looking for a decent work-life balance. They're looking for an interesting job above all else. You know, people want to be interested, they want to be motivated, and they want development. And then progression through that role, so they want a career. So, you know, the dairy industry, as Chloe said, can be seen as traditional, as, you know, it is just packing product, all this, that and the other. They don't know there's a diverse career behind the dairy industry through data analytics and veterinary apprenticeships. So it is an educational thing that people understand there's so many more diverse careers within the dairy industry that they aren't aware of.
And do you think that maybe that technological link could be something they could maybe tap into and encourage people to get into the industry?
Yeah, definitely. A young tech-savvy person would be able to, you know, make breakthroughs that are very, very important in the dairy industry, and that's what the dairy industry needs. Actually, is that knowledge and skill base that does exist, but doesn't currently exist in a large scale.
So, from a sort of marketing point of view, how do you think we could pitch the dairy industry to younger people, Chloe, and make it look a bit more attractive, maybe?
I think it's key working closely with schools and colleges and universities and just getting the name, getting the reputation and, you know, the name and the things that can be done if you choose to work for, you know, within the dairy industry, getting that across to them and showing them the opportunities that it can provide, how the skills that they're learning in school can actually be utilised. And I think that's the biggest link. It's, okay, I've learned this at school, why do I need to know maths? What's the point in it? But it's then showing them, okay, if you take those skills that you have learned, you've spent years learning and developing, you can use it in this industry, within this role, and you can make improvements and you can make quite big steps within the industry. And I think right now it's a very pivotal point within the industry to develop it, make improvements. We're moving to Industry 4.0, so machine learning, being able to take the data and actually work out what is it telling us, how can we use that to improve our operations. But yeah, I think it's very much we need to do more outreach.
It's something very close to our heart. I think at Christine's, obviously we've got a lot of people who've been in the industry a long time, and we slowly see that knowledge sort of slow drifting away as people look to come towards retirement age, and we're really looking at the moment to sort of look at people who are in the industry at the moment and develop them to sort of bring them up to the standards and the understanding that most of these people have, but obviously trying to encourage people in the first place as well is a big thing for us.
And that's the education that needs marketing really. That's stuff that needs driving across, because a lot of young people today, in fact 60% of people, are willing to sacrifice price and flavour as a result of animal welfare and sustainability, because it's depicted in the media that there's so many bad cases that they must think the industry is inherently bad, but it's not the case. It just needs that education driving through farm to fork so people understand what they're actually eating.
Information and the right information really. So in terms of the future then, you talked a little bit about the future of the dairy industry. What about yourself? What's the future look like for you or the businesses that you're actually working for at the moment?
So again, sustainability. There's a huge drive on packaging waste and packaging recyclability. So finding the right materials. So the retailers have what's known as a green, amber and red list. So getting the right packaging that's not on the red list ultimately. So there's been a big drive in terms of KPIs to move towards net zero and recyclability. That does come with its own challenges, because we need to find something that still works with the products that we are packing. So developing R&D at the moment, NPD, it's all a big focus in terms of sustainability and automation as well that can coincide with it to save on rising labour costs.
Brilliant.
Yeah, same sort of theme with sustainability, so making packaging changes so that we can actually recycle it and we can reuse it. And the other thing is hitting net zero, so what can we do in terms of our energy usage to bring it down, what else are we doing to try and counteract it, and also reducing water usage. So there's a lot of work there, and I think the next few years for us would also be how do we have so much data, how do we utilise that and how do we develop it to actually tell us something meaningful, and I think that's quite a big thing that will come more prevalent over the next few years.
Yeah, definitely. Sustainability and environmental impact are massive and way up on everyone's list at the moment, and hopefully we can communicate some positivity from the industry regards the work they're actually doing in that. So thank you both so much for your time today, much appreciated. Take care and we'll hope to see you soon.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. So Martin, welcome back to the Hangout. For anyone who missed episode 3 or hasn't seen it yet, can you just give a little introduction about yourself, what you do at Christains?
Sure. Thank you for having me again. That's an absolute pleasure. My name is Marcin Sampolski. I'm a technical service manager for Christains Food Hygiene, and I've been with you now for nearly 18 months.
Brilliant.
Mainly focusing on dairy industry and dairy markets. So,
yeah, can't believe it's been 18 months.
Time
flies, mate. Yeah. So we're here today really to talk about the next generation of people coming into the food industry. So looking at you as an individual, we just want a bit of an understanding about when you arrived in the UK and what were your plans at this point really?
Well, I had no plans really. Just came in 2013, January, so start of the year. My first job was in Fierce Milk in Wrexham, cutting and packing side, so on the warehouse, literally just putting boxes on the pallets. That's how I started in the food industry. Well, really back in Poland I finished at cooking school, so I had a little bit of background in terms of the technical knowledge and micro introduction into food industry. But then from Fierce Milk I moved to Llandudno in North Wales, creamery, which was Arla Foods, and that's really where my career started. So I started over there from probably the lowest point, which was the milk intake, just literally just weighing the incoming milk, testing the milk, and then throughout my career I was progressing to different departments, which I found really interesting. And then in the end I ended up on whey processing, so the membrane plants, UF, RO, and concentrating to WPC, all that was really fascinating. So I met a few Eden students at Arla, and because I was really curious about what is happening within that process and how it works, I had a good chat multiple times with a few Eden students, and I think that triggered me to actually apply for Eden program.
Yeah, quite a similar sort of start in the industry to me really. What started off as a summer job progressed into essentially where we are now. And I suppose from my point of view, that sort of grounding and from sort of shop floor level to sort of up through the ranks, if you want to say that, was a really good thing, because you get to see what happens at that level right the way through. Is that something you've experienced yourself as well? Or?
Exactly. Well, it's at Clondalkin, it was the whole cheese making. So I was actually starting at the milk intake. So I spend a day with the farm collection as well. So I could actually see what the drivers do on the farms and how the milk is being collected, which was quite a good experience. And then throughout, as you said, as you're progressing through different departments, you could literally learn about the whole cheese making process, which was very interesting. And then from the other point, it was my final sort of promotion before I applied on Eden was whey processing, which, funny enough, that was one of the biggest wastes in the dairy industry about 20 years ago. And now it's actually some manufacturers making cheese to actually process the whey. So it was really interesting. Yeah.
So you've referenced Eden there, and obviously you were an Eden student. How was that course segregated in terms of sort of on-site time and the educational side of things?
So Eden, when I applied for it, the whole course was across 3 years. So it was split between the relief blocks, so sort of 3 months you would spend on site learning about the process, different departments. You would be involved in different projects that are happening on site. You've been tasked with different challenges that actually push you forward to learn new stuff. And then you would go to Receive College in Nantwich for 9 to 12 weeks. You would stay there. They've got the great facility in terms of the dairy industry equipment and processing. You can make a cheese, you can make yogurts, you can make ice cream, evaporators. There's loads of equipment that you could get familiar with. And then obviously you meet your mates over there and you spend a lot of time with them. 9 to 12 weeks you share the kitchen with them. So I've got really good friends, live friends that I still keep in touch with them after so many years. And yeah, it's just great experience. And then after that, you just go back to your workplace and just carry on throughout the 3 years. So yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, so during that workplace, what sort of processes were you involved with?
So it was different from, really depends from site to site of where you would be placed or where you applied to be. I've started in Clondalkin, ended up in Scotland at Lockerbie. Eden students, at least at Arla, they were mostly involved in different projects. Optimization, finding savings and driving that sort of activities. But as well, you would spend a couple of weeks in different departments on training, for example, on the cheese making, whey processing, to learn and find out as much as you can about this process. You would try to link that as well to what you covered in the previous block at college, to try to apply that knowledge when you go back to your workplace. And try to implement that knowledge in practice. So it was really good.
Brilliant. So other than the sort of social interaction side of things that you just touched on, what was your favourite part of that course?
About Eden in terms of being at college, absolutely brilliant. The teachers over there were great facility. I think the most interesting is that across 3 years you're touching so many subjects. From dairy, micro to chemistry, even continuous improvement, engineering. So you're really covering a lot of topics in terms of dairy industry. So that was really good, and obviously socializing, as you mentioned, spending time with your friends. The revisions in your room, trying to prepare for the exams and that. Absolutely crazy. I still remember my room absolutely covered in posters, wherever you can stick them on. So no, that's I think you have the values in those relationships that you build over the 3 years, and even now, if I'm not sure about something, I know I've got friends in different places in the industry that I can reach out, and if you're not sure, you can always go back to them and ask them, whether they have an answer for it. So it's a great networking and great relationships.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. So we've seen a lot of changes in terms of training courses and things like that since post-pandemic. A lot of stuff going online. Has that affected the eating process?
I think it changed a little bit now to obviously suit more to the business needs, because it wasn't easy for the business to relieve us, for the 12 weeks being at college. I think it changed slightly as well, that it's a 2-year course now, but it's the classes I think are held online. We still got the practical part down in college at Receive. So I think that has changed. Hard for me to judge whether it's for better or for worse. I'm not sure about that, but it's definitely worth it. As well, after Eden, you got your foundation degree in dairy industry, dairy technology, but you can actually apply to do your bachelor degree in food science, which I did. That's across 2 years, and then you got your bachelor degree as well through Receive. That's where I completed, and that was to be fair, because of pandemic, that was mostly online as well.
Brilliant. So main focus of today's episode really is about encouraging people to get into the industry, whether it's dairy, brewing or food production sort of industry. What would your advice be to anyone looking to do that?
Go for it.
Yeah.
I never thought when I started, on milk intake, or even before that in at First Milk, just putting the boxes on the pallets, I would never imagine. After, I don't know, it's been about 7 years now, it can open so many doors for you. We're saying it's a big, but it's a small industry. We keep on meeting the same people over and over again throughout the different companies, but you're building those relationships, and you started to being recognized as well. So yeah, definitely go for it. My life has changed dramatically. I never thought I would end up in the chemical industry actually, but CAP was always something that I really found very interesting. So now I can apply my previous experience as operator and technician to my current role, which helps a lot. So you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
very powerful.
Yeah. No, so as I said before, that sort of rings true with me. I mean, someone had some great times, particularly in that sort of operator level, the laugh and banter and everything with the team of people that you work with. But I think you touched on a point there that it's not just packing product. I think people seem to think the food industry, it's just on a line packing things into a box and that's it, but there's so many different departments you can get involved with technical, hygiene, engineering, process planning, operations. It's crazy how much opportunity there is within the industry to sort of progress and develop yourself.
Exactly, and to be honest, Eden, if I look at my colleagues from the same cohort, they're still within the industry, and as you mentioned, so many different roles, so many different departments. Some of them are technical, some of them are operations, some of them are just mainly focused on the cheese making and all that. So as you said, it's just amazing what really part of Eden you passionate about the most, and you can choose that path, I think.
I think that's it. It's finding what you like within that thing, and the technical side of things, the hygiene side of things just appeal to me because it's so varied, it's so challenging, every day is different, and that was the real attraction for me. But I suppose one final question, would you change anything about your journey?
Not really. No, I'm thinking about that sometimes, whether it was a good decision or not, but I'm in a happy place, to be honest. So I don't think I would, actually. Yeah. You never know when you're making that decision, should you change your job or should you, look for something else? But you won't find out until you try it. And I don't regret anything, really. So it was a great journey. Well, it still is. So looking forward for the future. Yeah,
fantastic. Well, thank you again for your time today, mate. Much appreciated as always. And take care.
Thank you for
having me. We'll get you back again soon.
Great.
But from a wider dairy... Oh, for God's sake, Rich! Not you, that saying dairy. I was about to say industry and you had to say dairy.
Post it abroad.
01, 04.
Yeah.
Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2.
Mine. Yeah. I'm not going to give it away.
72.
A glass.
We're going to do braille. Braille, please.
I'm going to get very wet if this doesn't work.
It's not my fault.
Oh, I'm a 90s girl, I am.
You're 90s? Wow, okay. Yeah, I'm second old.
And you're kicking the table, so I don't know how that's going to come across on the mic. If you're going to hear do. I thought I'd let it roll.
So this time,
Got my glass.
we're going to do it in braille. Braille, please.
Leadership and management program. Oh, training programs. For God's sake. It is.
I hate my voice on camera, actually.
It was perfect as well. Oh, God's sake.
So, do you take 10s or 20s? And he literally...
That's why